All right, welcome, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Polk County Board of Commissioners. Today is April 26th. All commissioners are present. Any comments for items not on the agenda?
Yes, commissioners. Prior to your approval of the agenda, I would request that we have an add-on for today's meeting. It's not on your agenda as drafted, but I believe you have the materials in your packet. I would like to add order 23-07 regarding the write-off of unpaid property taxes on manufactured structures. So if you would please add it to the agenda, and it can be a separate agenda item.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as amended. We can place that first. After we'll place that at a number after the approval of consent.
Also move. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from April 19th?
Moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. And finally, do we have a motion to approve consent calendar?
Also move. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, now we'll handle that order.
Yeah, we have order 23-07. The materials are in your packet. If you have questions, I'll be able to answer them. And we also have individuals from the tax office who may be able to answer more specific questions, but this is essentially an annual cleanup process to write off some taxes owed on manufactured structures. I'll leave it to the board's deliberations.
Any questions for Morgan?
What is the status of these properties once these have been written off?
The status of them?
Yeah.
As far as ownership?
Yes.
It is my understanding we don't have the same kind of collection process through foreclosure for personal property, which is what the manufactured properties are. So as far as who retains title to it, I'd have to double check that. I don't have an answer for you directly today, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay, then also for the record, I want to know if these same individuals could potentially have this happen again.
I believe all of the properties at issue are actually destroyed, which is why there's no collection on them.
Okay, then I would set aside this decision until we have answers to those questions.
No objection to that. Why don't we table this until we get that question answered? Is there a time limit from our perspective?
Yeah, you can come up
Oh,
and
come
join
on.
us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Please state your name for the record, ma'am.
Okay, Lucy Augustini, the finance director.
First time in this chair.
Yes, it is the first time. First time for everything.
How have you
So-
avoided this for so long?
What was that?
How have you avoided this
I've
for
been
so long?
very fortunate, but I'm here.
Got a regular agenda item with Caitlin. Finance.
Ooh, you know, don't need to, but we could.
Okay.
So every year the assessor's office goes through and looks at manufactured structures, and that's not something we can foreclose on. And most of these are, just
I
destroyed.
think the bulk of them were destroyed by fire.
Yeah.
They simply don't exist. There's nothing to.
There's nothing to assess. There's nothing there. And so it's just the write-off of those accounts because we're not going to collect them and they're pretty minor in regards to the total tax roll.
You would attest that that's the case for every one of these accounts?
I'm not the assessor's office, but I believe them, yes.
So that is the statement.
They go out and look. Yeah, they go out and check and they look at each account.
These are
like-
all sitting on land, which also has a taxable value.
Yes.
So what's the status of the land? And
That's
are these
separate.
building owners the landowners?
It depends, but most of the time, no. Manufactured structures could just be owned by someone as personal property and the land owned by someone else who's renting it. It depends on, it's a case by case situation.
But we can't affirm that today, that's
I'd have to go through each one and figure out where it's actually like the site address is and if it's connected to an account on land in order to know that.
what I'm looking for, again, for the record is, can this be repeated? And I'm hearing yes. Do we know that these people no longer even own any of the land or anything associated with these properties?
I don't know that for a fact. I'd have to check. And if
So-
they could repeat it again, I don't know if they have another manufactured structure in their name somewhere. I'm not sure. But-
A separate manufactured structure, again, a separate tax account.
Yeah.
So we have a separate tax account for the land underneath the manufactured property. But then there's the manufactured dwelling itself will be a separate and distinct tax account. So we'll still be able to levy taxes and collect taxes on the real property.
Yep.
So these accounts no longer would generate tax burden.
Yeah,
No, because
they're destroyed. Yeah. there's nothing really to assess on them. And that's why when the assessors drive around, they're checking to see if it's even there anymore, right?
Question
Or abandoned or
that
anything.
can be repeated is no. These won't generate more.
I'd have to go through everyone and talk to the assessors. I didn't get to that detail, so I can't say yes or no, but I would assume yes.
I guess where I'm at, and again, we don't have this discussion often enough for me to remember this, so I
Yeah,
have to ask
please
these
do.
questions,
Sure.
and as a taxpayer, I want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, are these people, getting this write-off, is it a free pass? And are they associated anyway with this real property? Or in fact, is there still a structure there that could end up being taxed at some point? What's the finalization of the process? And I get you're saying that's an assessor question. But before I say yes to writing off all of these, I want to know there's an end point. And so that they can't just keep repeating this behavior. So
The only problem with that is, like Morgan had mentioned, it's, a different tax account number. Everything's identified in my office by an account number. People can have different account numbers and we don't necessarily know that they're linked together, right? So could they do this again? Possibly, but also if they're destroyed by fire, or it's not people I don't think are hoping that happens to their property. So, but I can definitely check with the assessors on every single account and see if there's anything attached to the land or if it's just strictly personal property on the manufactured structures.
yeah, I guess where I'm going with this additionally is just to make sure that we, as a government, and have exhausted all of the pathways to collecting past due taxes. And that we're not just writing it off because, well, it's a lot of extra work.
No.
And
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
I don't know that. I don't
Yeah.
know the whole story on this.
No,
Just
we
being
send,
asked to say yes to canceling a bunch of numbers.
totally. No, we send out letters probably 3 or 4 times a year to these people. Again, if it's destroyed, there's no confirmation that they're actually receiving the letter. I don't know. But we do our best to do that. But we can't foreclose on them either. So we're kind of in that limbo, and when the balance is small in regards to materiality of the tax roll. But yes, I understand, and I can get more information.
Okay, well, I hate to put that burden on
No.
you, but
Not a big deal. I
being
understand.
asked to make a decision based on a document with a bunch of numbers on it with no background.
Sure,
So it's my job
Yeah,
to ask the
absolutely.
questions and make certain that
absolutely.
we understand why we're doing it and that we've exhausted resources and it's an end point.
Sure.
So
Not a problem.
I'm just looking at the addresses. 4 of the addresses appear to be RV parks because there's space numbers on them.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't sit on land other than rented. And then the other one, there's one in Fall City. It looks like it does have a regular street address. But I'm also looking, total value or total of the whole thing is $1,686. And the Fall City one, $73.18. We're gonna pay more for the individual to drive out and take a look at it, spend time on the actual dollars that we'll be able to collect. So fiscally, it looks like I would say we just accept these numbers and trust that our assessor's office has done their job, which they always have in the past.
you're certainly welcome to do that if that's what you choose to do. I've asked questions. I've asked to set it aside until the questions can be answered.
I'm good with that too.
Is there a time limit on when you need this resolved? Okay. Kayla, can you check with Valerie, the assessor, to see if she's available next week to answer some of these questions? Then we could just table it till then and sit on it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, next up is Public Works update.
Sorry, we're not gonna be nearly that excited.
That's all right. What is
You don't
exciting?
know.
This is exciting. Heather, congratulations on your chamber award. I saw that on the interwebs. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, give you an update on current status of projects, where we're at, and where we're going. Our safe routes to school project, design is for the most part complete. The target right now is to get that out to bid by the end of the month. But the anticipated cost of that has gone up quite a bit. And some of that is due to inflation, some of that is due to a scope increase that Independence asked to add to the project to put a right turn lane at the north end of Gun Club Road. So what I've asked for is a meeting with the Safe Routes to School folks to see, is it possible for them to increase the budget for that project or the schedule? Right now, the contract is to complete all the work by, I believe it's April or May of 2024. And so if we could get, say, a 5-month extension to that contract, that gives us another construction season. And so we could bid this project in December and probably get a lot better bids than we're going to get at the end of April. So that's kind of my proposed strategy to them. I'm waiting to hear back from the new SRTS manager. That's where we're at there.
Is that right turn lane going to be within the scope of that grant program?
No,
Okay, that's just a,
it's just since we're there and we're doing work, that was in Independence's transportation system approved TSP. And so they wanted to add that to the project, but they've got their total match on that.
does SRTF have to sign off on that since it's in the,
They have.
they have, okay.
Yeah, we've already run that by them and they approved adding it to the project. That did not approve adding it to the Safe Route scope of work.
Gotcha.
So. Grand Run Road, that project bid last week. We were pleasantly surprised with bids there. We were anticipating $2.5 to $3 million. It came in at 2.2. So that was good news. We're waiting for a few administrative things to come through, namely agreements with the tribe, which I anticipate back any day. But still haven't received those. And then there's some cultural resource permitting that the tribe's working on getting before that thing we can give authorization or award the contract. We also recently opened bids for contract striping for the roads. Recall I mentioned that a while ago that we went out to bid this year instead of having another agency do our striping. The bid price on that was $682,000, which is a very large number for striping. Part of that is because so much of our roads didn't get striped last year that were supposed to get striped, that we're nearly doing 2 years as one to do that. And
There's also,
there's a part of that is a safe route, not safe routes, an all roads transportation safety grant of some additional signage and striping that's going on a select number of roads. And that is Corvallis, Airlie, Buena Vista, Ellendale, Falls City, Perrydale, and Xena are those roads that are getting improved signage and striping. And then the other thing I noticed when we looked at the bids and I saw the number, I kind of looked at it, it's like, yeah, we've got some quantities there that are higher than what's realistic. So there'll be a quantity reduction that it won't end up being that much. Chip seal, we're getting prepped for that. We received bids for the rock, $148,000, and oil, $722,000. And so those have been awarded, and we are getting ready to start hauling rock and cleaning up some roads, doing the prep work that we normally do on those to get them ready.
Question. So with regard to so I'm guessing that the amount of rock is consistent with the amount of miles
Mhm.
of road that you're treating, as always. I'm guessing the oil volume is consistent with the formula.
Mhm.
What is the percentage of increase of the cost of oil, maybe rock too, but oil specifically, per mile over what you've done in the past?
I have not looked at that number yet. But if I look at just those materials, yeah, that's around $25,000 per mile. I don't recall off the top of my head what our labor and equipment typically is. But that's in the ballpark. I didn't see a huge increase in oil price this year to my recollection.
Okay.
But I can follow up with that and
I'm just curious for the statement we hear from state, federal government is, their excuses for why projects cost so much is that these massive increases in petroleum. So I want to check that. I want to know the percentage of increase
yeah,
because we're doing this treatment every year.
yeah.
You should be able to track really carefully
Oh, yeah.
what the percentage of increases are in these projects. I
Yep.
think it's important to let the public know how much we're spending and to demonstrate we're doing our due diligence, doing a good job in that. And if we're holding the costs pretty level, but again, I don't know what the cost of doing business increases should be, but if it's in 3%, for example, that's awesome. But I just would like to have that understanding of what are these projects costing us more each year based on market
Yeah.
issues.
Put together
Thanks.
a spreadsheet for
Yeah.
that.
I knew the spreadsheet was coming. Thank you for that. I just wanted analysis from you. I don't really want the whole spreadsheet. I'm just curious about, again, we should be tracking that and understanding year in and year out. What are these costs? I mean, you just talked about paint, for example, and we've already discussed that in prior meetings about substantial increases in paint, and that's a supply chain issue. So I think the same with chip seal. And again, what I'm reading between the lines with you is it's still a reasonable cost. It still makes sense to do it.
Yes.
It's the cost per mile is what it should be.
Yeah, we're not seeing anything crazy like what we saw with the low VOC paint.
But where I'm at with it again is to have our own data, our own discussion on it so that, again, as we're being told by other agencies, there are reasons why they aren't taking care of maintenance. Because what you're suggesting flies in the face of those arguments.
I did notice on the recent bids that we received for Grand Run Road, my recollection was that everybody was over $100 a ton for asphalt, weren't they?
Yeah, I think it went from 102 to 110.
Yeah.
Just
So
for bad asphalt.
typically on a job like that, I would have expected 80 to 90. So there's a inflationary, cost of oil increase.
Thank you.
Plus the distance from the closest batch plant. Bridge projects, the only one we've got, of a major project, the only one we've got going is Helmick Road rehab. And ODOT is working on, they may have already sent us the agreement. I just haven't looked at it yet, but they've advanced some money. That project was originally awarded in the upcoming STIP, but they advanced some money into the current STIP so that we could fast track the project and get the design complete this year. And then next year they'll have the construction money. So that's the approach we're taking. It took them a little while to get us an agreement, but I think I remember seeing that agreement come in on email. So,
And for the record, this is the steel bridge near Old Fort Road.
yes. Yes. And the scope of that work will be scour protection, structural improvements to strengthen the bridge so that it can carry legal loads again. Right now it's got a 25 ton or 27 ton limit. Some deck sealing and painting the steel trusses. Another arts project we've got is out here at Riddle Clough. That's a through route activated warning system. That project has been held up now for better part of a year. Again, on supply chain stuff. We've purchased the materials, I think, well over a year ago, and they just, keep trickling in here and there one at a time. So we're going to try to start making some more noise about that, because it just kind of hamstrings the project when materials are trickling in like that. We want to get them all in and get that thing done. Another project ongoing is Federal Lands Access Program project on Mitchell Street and Black Rock up in Falls City. We're starting to get a few deeds in, so right-of-way process is going along. The plans, specs, engineering is for the most part complete. I think they're anticipating being ready to bid that job this fall. And they would like to get started on the clearing, some of the clearing work this fall, because they've got a window of time for environmental concerns to when they need to take some trees down. And then the lion's share of that'll be completed the following year, 2024.
And are you in contact with AJ Pascoli on kind of the timing of this and the clearing? He mentioned some property owners who are asking some questions and.
I have not recently been in touch with him, but I can do that. And I know that we went out one time and kind of briefed him and TJ on the process and where we were at with schedule, but that's been 6 months ago or so.
Yeah.
So
we'll update as they come.
yeah. Staffing, we recently closed our advertisement for summer hires. We had only 5 applicants this time, and we need 5. But I reviewed, looked through those applications, a preliminary look is they're all qualified. And we've got one of those as a return from last year. So get a little bit of experience there. We're getting ready to fly another position for, it'll be a combined position. Matt and I have been working on the job description. That'll come to you next week. Yeah, probably. Or an engineering tech / emergency management coordinator, shared position. We've got one contract employee that's on his last week. Our road crew is full. That's the first time in a while we've had that, so we're thankful for that. Road maintenance activities upcoming. We're finishing up our shoulder work, starting vegetation management work. We're finished rocking roads for the year, grading roads. We're going to be working on chip seal prep. Then through May and June, we'll be doing washboard control, putting on lignin sulfite where we're doing those projects. We'll have some patch paving that occurs in month of June and some approach paving as well. Roads that need new approaches, that we won't get all of these this year, but we're trying to prioritize where we've got a gravel road connecting to a state highway. Just get those approaches repaved, paved back 70-75 feet from the edge of pavement, so that when our grader has to back out, get started, they're not out in a travel lane. And so we've got Oak Knoll, Tucker, that's not connected to a state highway. Shady Lane connects to 223. Macbeth connects 223. Story connects to Maxfield Creek, and Plow Corner connects to Rogers. Those are ones that, probably the Plow Corner one is a priority because we're going to be in there chip sealing that road. I think next year. Yes. Bridge paving is also something that we're working on replacing there's some places on gravel roads where we've got, you know, a paved apron over the bridge, approaching to the bridge and over the bridge. And those are damaged and need to be replaced. One on Smith Road. That one, we got it ground off last year. We just need to get the asphalt down this year. And Ira Hooker is the other one. Also working on road maintenance. It's going to start our brushing and mowing operations. We're going to test out a new piece of equipment. We'll probably get it within a couple of weeks. And historically, when it came to mowing, brushing, they didn't make equipment that was purely designed for roadside vegetation management. It was a mower that went on a farm tractor, or it was a mower that went on a loader, or it's a mower that the primary piece of equipment that's powering that was designed, developed, you know, for something else. They're starting to move into that, which I don't know why it took this long. Since, I mean, how many roadside miles are there in the US? But there's a market there for it, and they're starting to create these mowers that are specifically designed for roadside vegetation management. So we're going to test one of those out. They're not cheap, but they're comparable in cost to the alternative that we've been using. So we're gonna try one of those out for a couple of months and see how we like it, see how well it works. And
How excited is your crew about that?
I think they're pretty excited. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Every time there's a new piece of equipment, come on,
yeah.
they don't maintain it.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be,
Faucet's broken.
they've got some out there with rotating cabs on them. We're not looking at one of those just because the weight and size of them, it's getting up, approaching our big wheeled excavator. But having that would be nice. Just, you know, even if you could, you know, turn 30 degrees and you're watching the road this way and you're watching your work that way, ergonomically, that works a lot better than, you know, sitting there with your looking off in one direction, you know, 10 hours a day. So it would be nice to have that. So anyhow, when that gets here and it's out working, if anybody wants to, welcome to, yeah, raise your hand and we'll throw you in it for 10 hours and see how you do.
As long as there's music like that, I'm fine.
I added that after he raised his hand. So, any questions?
Yeah, so back to chip seal. I missed how many miles and the region?
35 miles roughly is my recollection, 30 or 35. We're going to be working Southeast County. So we'll be doing Airlie, or not Airlie, Suver, Corvallis, Buena Vista, Prather, Davidson, Parker, Stapleton, Talmadge, basically bringing everything up to Monmouth Independence boundary.
East of 99 south.
Wigridge, Wells Landing, yeah,
Wells Landing.
yeah. And Wigridge Road, east of Wells Landing, was probably last chip sealed over 20 years ago. Yeah.
Is there an association with ADT in a road like that
Yeah.
against, say, Airlie Road, which is, I'm guessing, much higher ADT?
Correct. Yeah.
And so is it these lower ADT roads, are they needing it because of ultraviolet issues more than traffic?
Correct.
Okay.
We did a treatment on Wells Landing would not have lasted that long had we not done a treatment to it in 2011 or 12. We just put a straight fog seal on it. And I think we double shot that. I remember waiting out on that thing. It took a long time for that to break and set up. But that's just meant to rejuvenate those oils that have oxidized stuff. And I think we would have had a lot of rock loss had we not done that. So that was a successful treatment. you can get away with that on your real low ADT roads. Your higher ADT roads, your rock gets turned and polished, and when it does that, just that, you have angular rock, and this one, in the rut, these lay down, that creates a little bit of a dish, and then that turns with a flat side up, so the friction force isn't as great for that stuff. So eventually they wear them out quicker than the low ADT roads do.
So, and I can't go by our vegetation management, it's not specific to the question I've sent to you, don't need to worry about that, but specific to, just again for the record, what does vegetation management look like today for you? And just again, so that people can have a sense of what they should see.
Yeah, so our vegetation management this time of year involves spraying the shoulders of the road, down to the bottom of the ditch, with I can't quote the chemistry that they're using, but it's a contact herbicide and a pre-emergent. Later on, there's some spot spraying that we'll do where we target specific species, like you recently asked about water hemlock, and we targeted that last year because we're seeing it around more, and so we'll continue to do that. And then in the fall, we focus on if there's blackberry issues or something like that, then we focus on them. The spraying typically, our roadside standard vegetation management takes place at night when there's no wind or less wind. So the public isn't likely to see it until we're doing, maybe our spot spray work or something like that will be out in the daytime when we need to be able to see.
Thank you.
Do you have a date yet? Start date on 99 and Cloud project? Have you seen anything yet?
I have not seen, I saw the bids. I had to go find the bids, but yeah, I've not seen whether they awarded that contract or what a schedule
It's
is.
been awarded, but I haven't seen the start date yet. And I know people are starting to ask. I just want the public to know what we see that. We'll share that. We'll put it on the website.
Yeah.
Also, I did get notification that there'll be a kickoff informational meeting on the 99W in Bethel interchange. So where they'll be adding the turn lanes for north and south at that intersection, saving a lot of lives over the course once they get it done. That's just the kickoff meeting. So, and Anna Hansen had some questions yesterday I couldn't ask on Grand Ron project. So she'll be reaching out to you today, so you might look at that.
On our project or theirs?
Our project.
Okay.
Grand Ron. Yeah. So
They've got some work out there too that,
yeah,
I think they're doing some crosswalk improvements or something like that.
she was wanting to know.
Yeah. So you say she's gonna give me a call?
Reach out to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks to you and the team. And
You bet.
Bubba sent us that Google sheet with a list and schedule of street projects. So,
Oh, just our written weekly schedule?
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry that some of you guys somehow weren't getting that. It was used to be a standard thing, and then
Got it now.
I don't know how it just evolved away from you guys having access to it, but
No worries. Thank you, sir.
Great job, Todd.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a need for an executive session today?
Not for me, sir.
All right. With that, we'll adjourn at 9:36.